All right, we made it. I don't know about you guys. I like Mondays. Mondays are a good day for me. Um, almost all my other jobs though that I had before, starting my own business and working for myself and building a team and multiple organizations, like Mondays used to be a drag. Like Mondays were rough because I kind of lived for the weekend. Was building something for somebody else, and now I really don't even take a weekend most of the time. Half the time, I don't know what day it is. I have to check my calendar and check with my assistant in the morning to figure out, like because they all just kind of run together when you're running towards something. But I'm excited every day when I wake up. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is. Um, I think you get to that spot when you match whatever your alignment or your purpose is. And that's what I'm really hopeful people get on the other side of price appreciation in crypto. Um, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are probably watching this or watch this later on that, you know, sucks some days. It sucks some days anyway. It doesn't matter what you're doing. But like, if you're building something for somebody else or doing something that you don't necessarily want to do, and I say don't want to do, there's lots of things I do on a daily basis that I don't want to do. But they're necessary in pursuit of the mission, of the higher purpose of what I believe I was put here to do. And I believe that I'm called to do. So all of it's for that. And so therefore, even if I don't want to do it, I still get fulfillment from it. And on the other side of price appreciation, I hope other people step into that version of themselves or can figure out what that is for them. If you have time to actually just sit down and be alone and think, I think that, I know that you will figure that out if you have time to sit and reflect on your life. I mean, all the wealthiest people and all the most successful people that I've ever met, this is going to sound cheesy and cliche, and I don't even know if you want to call it meditating, but they spend time alone in solitude, away from other people, thinking about their life, what they need to do, who they want to be, where they've been, traumas that they've had in their life, and they're able to reconcile that. And most of us don't get that time. Most of us spend, as soon as you wake up, you're running. You've got kids, you've got a life, you've got a spouse, you've got a job, you've got bills to pay, you've got all of these things that clamor for your time and your attention. And when we're not doing that, you're decompressing and you're watching TV or listening to the radio or watching this or on your phone, doom scrolling TikTok or something else. I find that a lot of people just don't they don't guard their time and give themselves time to think in solitude. I haven't been getting up as early as I like to. I really like early mornings. I really like 4 a.m. before other people get up. And it's quiet. The world hasn't started yet. Nobody's texting me. I might have a few emails if I even check them that early in the morning. Most of the time, I get on the treadmill if I'm up that early, when I'm up that early, and read an audiobook or listen to something that's motivational. I do those things, but sometimes I just walk and think and reflect on stuff. And that's probably, like, I have some of the most beneficial epiphanies that I've ever had in my life during those times in the morning. And bodybuilding, it's kind of like required reading for that. You're doing fasted cardio whether you want to or not. you have to get up earlier than everybody else and get that done. It's just part of the thing you have to check off on the list every day. But in doing that, you know, you build a lot of self-discipline, and also you get a lot of time alone. And a lot of times people don't want to be alone because of, you know, you might actually start to think about some stuff that you don't necessarily want to deal with. But that tends to be the thing that's between you and the person that you need to be over the long term to be able to step into your purpose or your aligned values, or where you're supposed to be in this world. So anyway, just wanted to start with that. I'm hopeful, again, on the other side of this, people will have more time to themselves. They'll have passive income. They won't have to be rushing around. And they can really figure out, you know, what they were put here to do. And it's not just work for somebody else and build their wealth. I mean, sometimes it is, right? Some people just want a 9 to 5 and be able to decompress and spend time with their family and check out on the weekend and live that life. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not poo-pooing it. I'm just saying, I think there's a lot of people that are invested in these digital assets that see more for themselves, see more for their family, and have higher dreams and aspirations than some of what they're doing right now. And I'm excited that they'll be able to focus on those things without, you know, the need to make money with their time. They'll actually be able to trade the money that they have to make more money, and then they can use their time on whatever they feel is most valuable. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and hop into the chats here. We got a lot of people over here on YouTube, X, Facebook, and also over here on TikTok. Appreciate you guys taking time out of your Monday evening to hang out with me. And we will jump into the Q&A. We do these every Monday and Wednesday. Well, we try to. Last week was Tuesday, Thursday, which is a little different. That's okay. We still got it done. Wednesday night this week, I'm going to be in New York. I have a family office dinner that I'm attending up there with Chris Voss. I don't know if you guys know who Chris Voss is or not, but that'll be really cool. He's one of the best negotiators that's ever existed for 3-letter agencies, and he wrote the book Never Split the Difference. So get to chat with him and pick his brain on negotiating, and talk about, you know, impact for family offices that we're having the dinner with, and get to meet some really cool people. So I'm excited about that one. But unfortunately, because of that, we will not be here with you guys Thursday. Might be able to make Thursday work this week for the other Q&A. I like doing these. I don't like missing them because we get all our shorts and stuff from this, and I really do get a lot of fulfillment and enjoyment from it. So we'll try to make Thursday night work for this, but I'll keep you guys updated. If we're not going to be able to make it, we'll put it out over there on TikTok and the other social media platforms and let you guys know. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and hop into the questions here. And again, appreciate y'all taking time out of your Monday night to hang out with me. We got Wamblin. Like, is that kind of like the Wambulance? I don't know what Wamblin is. I say, hey, Jake, curious your thoughts on the Canton network. It's focused on privacy and strong buy-in with banks. Does it compete with Ripple? Thanks. I have no idea what it is. Let's give it a Google. The Canton network. Okay. The official site, Stablecoins, RWA, and TradFi. Canton Network is a public blockchain developed for financial institutions to enable secure interoperability and privacy preserving transactions. Oh no. This is way too late. So it's launched in 2023 by a consortium of banks and exchanges, financial institutions, Goldman Sachs, BNY. Global Network is governed by the GSF, an independent nonprofit body established in July of 2024 under the Linksys Foundation. And this is just on Wikipedia here, by the way. So I would have to do a lot more research to be able to understand. I don't have anything here that shows that it does any type of settlement. It's a network of networks where participating institutions maintain its own ledger while connecting with others via a synchronized layer. The architecture enables atomic transactions, ensuring that complex multi-party exchanges either complete fully or not at all, while preserving privacy and sensitive data. So this would be the way that I would hopefully think that this is going to be used. There's going to be main nets and side chains and subnets and all of these other things that are on different blockchain networks and infrastructure that allow for interoperability over public chains. But the main function on a lot of these and for exchanges and institutions in particular, you want to be able to lock assets and reflect those another place so that you don't have counterparty risk. And what it looks like here is kind of what this is. It enables atomic transactions. So what that means is it allows counterparties to atomically swap assets. So let's say, I'll give you an example. We're working on this with some of the custodians we partner with now, but like off exchange settlement. So if they had Canton network that enabled this, and it looks like the large institutions are going to be the ones that are utilizing this. So let's say you didn't want to. It's always kind of like the chicken and the egg in a transaction. They're like, hey, you send me the money, and then I'll send you the other piece. And you trust Amazon, so you pay Amazon, and then Amazon ships you something, right? Like they've built enough trust with you. But sometimes you don't know the counterparty that well, or you're like, I don't know, man. I don't know if this is going to go through. I'm going to send you this money, and like maybe it works out. That's what this prevents, right? So the asset would sit basically escrowed on your side, be pledged or locked and put toward the transaction, and then the other counterparty would do the same. And when the quorum was met on the smart contract between the counterparties, there might be other stipulations beyond just pledging the assets. They would then atomically swap real time. So it's an at that moment exchange of the assets. You receive what you're supposed to get, and they receive what they're supposed to get immediately within that framework. And that's basically what this is. Just again, on the surface here, I haven't done enough deep dive on this to really understand it. But I like stuff like this. People bring things on here that I don't know about, and it gives me something to like learn, So I appreciate you bringing this up. It's not something that I was educated on, but I'm definitely going to deep dive it more. But just on the surface, it looks like an additional layer of accounting that allows for atomic swap and interoperability between large financial institutions. This isn't something that Ripple provides, by the way. So Ripple does settlement and trading and, well, not trading, but settlement of financial transactions. I think and this is a nonprofit group that governs this, right? So this is like one layer up from the blockchains. This is kind of like Overledger, something like that would allow for interoperability between multiple institutions and atomic settlement between them without counterparty risk. So again, that's just my visceral response to it. Need to do a much deeper dive, but really do appreciate you bringing it to the forefront. I always like to learn stuff, right? Like it's what we're all here for. Colby says, love the blue. Appreciate it, man. Look, I like blue. My wife knows I like blue. I normally wear black, white, gray, and blue. Like it's pretty much my whole wardrobe. We do wear some other stuff. Every once in a while you'll see me in red. Sometimes you'll see me in like turquoise. My wife likes turquoise. Hardly ever wear yellow or orange or tan. Occasionally I'll wear tan, I guess. But I really do like blues most of the time, and she got this shirt for me, and so appreciate her. Gold too. Gold's like, as you get older, I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, but like when I was younger, I wanted white gold. I thought I liked white gold better. But as I've gotten older, I really like gold. And I don't know what, like, I've seen other people go through that too. And I used to like look at older people and think, oh, why do they like that gold jewelry over the white gold? And now I'm not even that old, but I like the gold jewelry now. and I didn't when I was younger. Um, Colton says, legend. What's up, man? I don't have a whole lot, but working toward my future. If I have 1,000 XRP, what can I look like in the next year or two? I'm simple man, farm life, mentally. Thanks for all that you do. Absolutely, dude. Appreciate the super chat and you taking time out of your Monday. Look, a year or two, I do think that we could be at 4 digits very easily in a year or two. I think we could be at 4 digits this year. We've talked about how that, stuff would have to play out in order for that to happen. It's perfect storm. Like there's a lot of things that have to culminate for that to happen, but it looks likely. It looks like all those things could actually transpire and culminate to a 4-digit XRP here in 2025. So if you had 1,000, let's just call it $1,000 even. 1,000 XRP at $1,000 gives you $1 million. It's not enough to retire here in the US. Used to be, back in the 90s, if you had $1 million, you were doing really good. Now, if you got $1 million, there's another millionaire. There's lots of millionaires, like every single day, that become millionaires here in the US. And it's because they printed so much money. It's not that it's, it is kind of less meaningful because they have printed so much money. So, you're a young guy. You said, you didn't say you're a young guy. You just said you're simple. Farm life, nothing wrong with that. Good, clean living. I live out, way away from society, under the stars, and I prefer it that way too. But you really kind of want that $10,000 per XRP before you're going to be able to park it somewhere and make enough money on it that it's enough to really live off of without touching the principal. $10 million is, people talk about like FU money. That's really kind of the level for FU money today is 10 million. Because if you're making 5% on 10 million, it's $500,000 a year and you never have to touch the principal. And you can live pretty well in almost any place in the world. So this person says $1 million is a lot if you don't have it. It's not though, my man. I look, and I'm not saying that to be like downtrodden on anybody or belittle anyone. But if you tried to retire on $1 million and you're younger than 70, you're probably going to outlive that $1 million. You could supplement your lifestyle with that. If you're making 5%, it's an extra 50 grand a year, which to some people is very meaningful. So I'm not trying to downplay it, but you're still going to have to work. You're part-time. You're going to have to do something to make additional income. $50,000 a year, unless you're in like Arkansas, hard to live on, and do much besides just pay your house, utilities, and normal bills. And again, not poo-pooing anyone that makes that much money. I'm just saying because they've printed so much money and the wages haven't increased or kept up with that because we don't have sound money is really the root of all those things. It's become a problem. So anyway, back to the deal here. $10,000 in XRP, I do think could happen. You're stretching it on 2 years by the end of 2027. It's very possible. But we're still in Q3 and 25. So Q3 of 26, Q3 of 27. Yeah. Okay. Almost 2028. Yeah. I think that's reasonable. I think you could be at $10,000 by the end of 2027, close to 28. Especially if we got derivatives, and it is dependent on derivatives. Just to be candid, like we need the tokenization of the derivatives market if you're going to get to those price levels and be able to live off of it in that capacity. So you're not that far though. Like even if it was 5 years and you had to wait 5 years for XRP to be $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 a piece, now you're rolling in it, right? Like even with 1,000 XRP, now you've got $20, $30 million. Now you're in a position where you're good. And if you're young enough and you could work the next 5 years and just not touch that 1,000 XRP, I mean, that's $3 grand a day. Like, where else are you going to turn 3 grand into 30 mil? I don't know of anything other than starting a business in some super niche field that has a really high MRR and is probably a, like, I don't even know how you would get, you could raise capital, I guess, and put 3,000 of your own money into it to get started. Or you could be like Peter Thiel and do it inside of a Roth IRA. Put all your PayPal shares in a Roth. Now you got $5 billion in Roth if it takes off and does what you're hoping for. But there's not a whole lot of vehicles that can give you 1,000x return on your money in that short of a period of time without a lot of work and sacrifice and blood, sweat, and tears. So to just hold something and have it happen, your guess is as good as mine. I really don't know of anything in that short of a period of time that's seen anything like that type of growth. Not even Bitcoin went up that fast, right? So to be able to sit on 1,000 XRP and be, completely financially free in 5 years, I think is a highly likely outcome, and a really big blessing. And again, if you can just be patient and delay gratification of using it or selling it or doing anything and just hold it and maybe even kind of forget that you had it for 5 years. If you could just, this sounds horrible, but like go into a coma for 5 years and wake up, you wake up very wealthy. If you can just be patient and hold. We'll hop over to Rob. Rob, how are you doing, brother? Appreciate you on this. He says, not that I want to wish my life away, but every night when I go to bed, I think another day closer. So there's been times in my life, Rob, where I've been suffering or sticking it out through something. And I've thought the same thing, if you're working towards something and it's taking from you more than it's giving, sometimes it's really easy to fall into that trap of, I can't wait for tomorrow to be over type thing. But you don't get today back, right? Like, the only thing you can't print more of or create more of is time. And so I'm trying to be better. And I know a lot of people that have come to this realization. And again, I'm just trying to listen to them, that, stay in the moment and enjoy the ride rather than looking at the top of the mountain. And it's this weird dichotomy of taking aggressive action every single day and pushing as hard as I can, but also like almost third party looking at myself doing it and try to enjoy it at the same time. Because I'm never going to be as young as I am today. And I know that all the money that I'm going to make 10 years from now, I would give it all up to be the same age that I am now. Right. So if you think about it from that perspective, like, my older version of myself would give up everything that they had just to go back to this moment. So, like, how valuable is today in comparison, if you really like think about it through a future lens? And that's a Alex Hormozy-ism. I don't know if you guys know who that is or not. Alex is very wise, far beyond his years. He's actually just a year older than me. I think he's 35 now. And he actually just broke a couple Guinness Book of World Records with his last book launch. So shout out to him and his team over there and his wife, Layla, Gym Launch and everything else that they have. Acquisition.com. Doing some big stuff, which is cool and fun to watch. But, he's the same way. If you think through the lens of your 80-year-old self, even if they have billions and billions of dollars, they would give it all up to go back to however old you are today and enjoy it. So, don't let it slip, man. I know that we're all holding out, waiting for all these things to happen, and we want these blessings to come faster. But you're extremely blessed today to have all the things in your life that you do. and a purpose, and be able to have the vision that you do and be in the position that you are, and all the people around you, right? Rob's fantastic. He's great in the mastermind, brings a lot of value over there. We have almost 7,200 people there in the community, and Rob's one of the great people there in the community that helps others. So if you want to be part of the mastermind, we'd love to have you over there. Check it out. You go to mastermind.beyondbroke.com and use the code BeyondBroke, the number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar gets you the first month for $2 there in the group. And Rob will be in there. I promise he will. He's good people. We got Lawson. He says, hey, Jake, do you still believe XRP will shoot up before the end of 2025? We just went over that. And yes, sir. I think it's very likely. Or has the time frame changed in your opinion? Thanks for all that you do. There's a lot of people that want me to hedge. And I appreciate that. I really do. And maybe I'll be wrong. Look, if I'm wrong, I'm happy to come out publicly and say, hey, I was hopeful that this was going to happen in this time frame. I thought that it was very realistic based on these constraints, and that's why I put it out there. This person says 750 is not possible end of year. We will see. I think, I mean, I have a public bet that's worth about $20,000 today on 750 by the end of the year for XRP. So, if I'm right, that bet will be worth about $3.5 million. This person says, can I bet also? No, you cannot bet also. The only reason that I bet the individual that I did was to make sure that the people he had taken XRP from on bets will get paid back. That's a wild bet, caked up, Jake. I have 20,000 XRP I'll put up. I don't want your XRP, man. I got plenty of XRP. I just want to give people XRP back that didn't have the XRP to lose. And, again, this individual is very confident that it's not going to be 750 by the end of the year. That's okay. And again, if I'm wrong, happy to come out publicly and say, look, I was wrong on the time frame. All of my speculation, and it's really not speculation because I know it's going to happen, is based on events. It's very event driven. I put out the domino theory, 18 months ago. And that's a culmination of certain events that have to be happening in a specific order for that to culminate into a 4-digit XRP price. And, this week is looking pretty juicy here for that to kick off. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the reverse carry trade or not, but it's looking like it's going to unwind here. And there's many articles that are coming out about it right and left. The US is lowering interest rates. You got Bank of Japan raising interest rates. You got the UK changing interest rates. All the large central banks are changing interest rates this week. So actually the name that I put on the name of this live tonight was The Winds of Change. I don't know if you guys ever watched Monsters, where Mike Wazowski's talking to the purple lizard guy. And he's like, you hear that? And Mike's like, no, what is it? He's like, the winds of change. And he's messing with him, obviously. But, I really do think we're at the point where a lot of things are about to shift and we're going to have a lot of volatility in the market. We went over that today in the mastermind. We talked about a lot of different things there. Mondays, we always have the digital asset discussion. We break things down that are out there in the market and what that means for you and your portfolio. So again, that sounds cool to you and you want to learn more. This person's brought up the reverse carry trade. Learn all about that there in the mastermind. And I think, again, the code's up here at the top of the screen. We got President Nick. What's up, man? He says, Jake, my guy, I'm hearing lots of people saying that they think Wednesday the Fed will drop rates 25 basis points. What do you say, legend? How does the Fed dropping interest rates affect the start of the reverse carry trade? It's a great question. We'll break that down as I sip out of my R3 mug. So the reverse carry trade is basically a bet that people have made that the Bank of Japan would keep interest rates low for a long time. And they kept it low for 25 years before they started to raise interest rates here. A lot of those loans were variable interest rate, and a lot of them took money out and parked it in US Treasuries. And that was a risk-free return of like 4 or 5% for those people. They borrowed free money from the Bank of Japan. They could park it in whatever they wanted to and earn 4 or 5%. Some people borrowed money and swapped it and put it in stocks or crypto or gold or bonds or a lot of private credit. There's lots of things you could do with free money to make more money. Well, now that we've raised interest rates, our bond yields are pretty good in comparison to, a lot of the stuff that's out there. But now we're starting to lower the interest rates, and Bank of Japan has started to raise interest rates. So when people talk about an unwind, what they're referring to is a rotation is really what it is. It's a selling off of US treasuries held by foreign buyers and rotating into their own treasuries. And why would they do that? Well, the yield that they're getting from treasuries in the US now is higher than what they're getting from domestic treasuries. But if their domestic treasuries were actually paying a better yield than the US, well, you would see them sell off those positions and swap to the other. And that's what's going to happen when these interest rates, you're getting squeezed. We're already very close. We saw this start to unwind last year in August, like 13% down in the S&P in one day when this started. I think it was like August 4th or 5th last year in 2024, if you want to go back and look at the chart. So that was the start of it. And the Bank of Japan said, whoa, we're not going to raise interest rates anymore while there's market volatility. And so they've held, and so has the Fed. They haven't moved rates since then. Everybody's, euphoric in the stock market now. Everybody thinks everything's stable. And so now they're like, all right, well, things are cool. We can start moving stuff again. It's a very slippery slope that they stand on today with the interest rates. So if the US comes down and Japan comes up, you're going to get pressure from both sides. It's going to squeeze people that are in that trade in the dollar, and the yen will appreciate against the US dollar. So you really get like a twofold effect. One, you're going to have to refinance rates or your, whatever your loan was at a higher interest rate over there in Japan. And two, you've got the swap of the FX market. If the yen's appreciating aggressively against the US dollar, it doesn't take much. It's like lighting a match in a forest that's under a burn ban. It's all going to go, because when people get emotional and they see everybody else running for the door, they're going to do the same thing. And it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy on this stuff. So, it's not going to take much. I think as soon as we start to see the unwind, it's just going to exacerbate and roll downhill from there. And people are going to get scared, and then we're going to have a huge, everybody thinks that, and we had a new all-time high in gold today. So I don't know if you guys saw that or not. People that know what's going on are moving from risk on to risk off. But the people that are still caught in the stock market and are getting greedy, they're going to get burned. Pigs get slaughtered. Bulls make money, bears make money, pigs get slaughtered, is the saying. So if you're, I don't know what your stock positions are. I don't provide financial advice. This is only for entertainment and educational purposes only. All the opinions stated here are my opinions and not the firm's opinions, the Digital Ascension Group or Digital Wealth Partners. I don't own any stocks. I haven't for a long time because I think they're highly overvalued. They are historically. They're the highest value they've ever been, even more than before the Great Depression and before the tech bubble popped in 2000. Okay, so if that tells you anything, if you have any stocks, it might be time to take some profits and book them over there. And again, that's just what I would be doing if I owned stocks. I sold my stocks a long time ago and rotated all of it into crypto. So I don't have any of those positions. But I think there's a really good reason Warren Buffett's in $400 billion worth of treasuries right now and not in the stock market. So just, again, just things that make you go, Dr. Denise, thank you for the super chat, the 1111. I love it. She says legend. Love to you. Thank you, your wife, son, and the Beyond Broke Mastermind crew. Recreation, recreate. The cool pause in time and nature, divine clarity. Thank you for your vision. Continued prayers. Thank you so much. Love my alone time too. Yeah. Well, and again, a lot of really successful people, Denise, take a lot of alone time for themselves. We got Little Jack. He says, "Happy Monday. Price prediction for HBAR end of year." Ooh, what is HBAR today? HBAR's where are we at here? HBAR. We got the ETFs for HBAR too. I think you're going to see a large rotation into HBAR. Let's look at the log chart here. I don't know if we had another percentage move like that, you could probably see maybe a $5 HBAR, $10 HBAR. I think that's pretty realistic for the end of the year here. If we do get, rotation into altcoins for things that have ETF listings. You got a Litecoin. This guy asked about Litecoin over here on TikTok. You got Litecoin ETFs, you've got Solana ETFs, you got HBAR ETFs, and you got XRP ETFs. So I think all of those could potentially see some price appreciation. But again, I am the most bullish on the XRP ETFs out of anything, and that's why I don't own anything else. Well, what are you doing home? Oh, all right. Thank you for the tea. My wonderful wife with the tea. Yeah. Thanks.
Fine.
Well, I didn't know you were going to be home.
I don't know what's going on.
It's fine. Let's see here. Man, you guys are awesome with all the good questions. We got Chomp. He says, the Jake the Wake. I'll take it. It's not the snake, but the Wake is still cool. We got BlackRock at Ripple Swell. Coincidence or fireworks? Any Japan carry trade buzz? Hope you and the fam are thriving, brother. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. We will be at Swell this year. This will be our third year attending Swell. We were there in Dubai. We were there in Miami last year, and we will be there in New York this year on November 4th and 5th. So excited to see all of the wonderful speakers and people that Ripple will be putting in the room there this year. They're in New York. I think it being in New York is pretty interesting this year in that, I really feel strongly that 26 is going to be the tokenization of stocks and financial products and markets. And, they did London before they did Dubai. We didn't go to that one in 22. But they've always had some really good speakers. They've had MasterCard, they've had Visa, they've had, a lot of large banks, BNY Mellon, just on and on and on, the fantastic people that speak at Swell every single year. And for them to have BlackRock there, every time Larry Fink has been asked about an XRP ETF, he's like, can't comment. And Brad's the same way. He just says, I can't comment. That says more than commenting to me. I don't know about you guys. But when they say, hey, I have NDAs, I can't talk about that. There's reasons, right? So I do think that, by November this year, we actually have another tender offer for Ripple right now. I don't know if you guys have been privy to that or not with everything that's been going on, but they're buying back another $1 billion worth of their shares at $250 per share. So up to 6% of people's allocations, those have to be submitted by October 6th. So this will be the third tender offer by Ripple this year to buy back their shares and their equity. And you might think, well, why would they be doing that? They must. The only reason they would be doing that is they think it's worth way, way more than whatever they're buying it at. So hopefully here in 26, Ripple will go public in some capacity, either through an acquisition or a direct listing on the stock market. I think it's possible that they want to list on the Texas Stock Exchange. And again, I'm not the tinfoil hat guy, but I do like the riddles and all that stuff out there. And if you did look at the Bearable Guy post last Christmas, he was riding a horse with his cowboy hat on. So just things that make you go, and then as far as the reverse carry trade, a lot of the, exchange rates moving this week. We'll see what ends up shaking out with the volatility. We got Mark. He says, hey, Jake, thanks for all that you do for the community. Absolutely, dude. I wouldn't rather be anywhere else in the world. I love you guys. It's concerning to me that ROUSD is being settled more on ETH, 70% compared to the XRPL, 32%. I don't know how that's more than 100%, my man. You got 70% and 32%. It's 102%. Maybe you rounded on the 70%. I don't know. This month or down the line. It's not overly concerning to me. So ETH is where the liquidity is right now. And I can tell you from the institutional point of view, they're going to create products and mint stuff where the liquidity is, because otherwise it doesn't have much utility. There's no benefit. If there's no buyers and sellers and transactional volume, if you don't have a market, if you don't have infrastructure for tokenized products or real world assets or other things, it's kind of like the whole reason, you look at Securitized and you look at Biddle and you look at these funds that people have created that have been tokenized. Nobody cares. There's no market for it. There's not enough liquidity. Nobody is buying and selling and exchanging things on chain. We need more stablecoins being issued. You need more liquidity coming into the asset class. We're now over 4 trillion, which sounds like a lot of money, but realistically, that's not how much money is actually in crypto. Again, we've talked about market cap and how that's kind of manipulated. But even, gold right now is 12, 13 trillion dollars. That's what, 3 times the amount of crypto? All of crypto, just gold. Stock market, $600 trillion globally. More than that now that stocks have gone up. So, if crypto was at 3, like it was just a few weeks ago or a month or two ago, that's 200 times. The stock market is 200 times larger than the entire crypto market. But you and I both know this whole asset class will eat all of these other asset classes. So the liquidity will come. It's going to be on chain. But until it is, these banks and institutions are going to trial stuff and put things where it can work. And right now, unfortunately, for you and me, that's on Ethereum. And the XRPL is coming. We've already got 1 billion in futures. It's the fastest growing futures market ever. 3 months took to get to $1 billion. We're the fastest growing RIA in the world at Digital Wealth Partners. We've gone 0 to $750 million in 11 months. The next fastest growing RIA that's ever existed that I'm aware of was 0 to 600 million in 3 years. We've done more than that in 11 months because of you guys, because awesome people own significant amounts of crypto and they want it protected. They want institutional custody. They want the ability to earn returns on their assets. They want an advisor. They want all the assurances and insurance that you get from institutional custody and partnering with an RIA. So, it's been wild to watch that happen. But we're watching the same thing happen for XRP. We're watching, adoption happen real time. And I think you're going to see a tsunami of liquidity pour into XRP at the right time. And I know it's frustrating waiting on that right time to happen, but believe me, the whole world is going to be very happy that they waited and they did it at the exact right time when they do it. We got Teddy B. What's up, man? He says, if XRP tokens is reused and tokens mostly being sent back and forth between financial institutions and converted into stable coins, how does the token value rise? For the exact reason that you mentioned here, my man. There's volume and settlement over the network. Swift settles $5 trillion a day in transactions. So let's say, Robbie Mitchnick, who used to be the head of digital assets at BlackRock, and his calculator is correct, Maybe you can use XRP more than 10 times a day, but we'll just stick it at 10 times a day because that's what Robbie's calculator maxed it out at. Maybe if you only had 5 billion XRP that you could use 10 times a day, that's $50 billion to move $5 trillion in settlement. What would the price have to be? Well, you would divide 5 trillion by 5 billion, and then you would multiply the 5 billion times 10 because you can use the same XRP 10 times. So you need $100 XRP at 5 billion XRP being used 10 times a day to be able to move $5 trillion. So how can the value go up? Well, there you go. I mean, that'd be 33 times what the price is today. But you would need it to be there to start using it in that capacity. And that's what I don't think people like. It's a hard concept. It's kind of chicken or the egg, right? Like, we know that it would work for this, but we have to have enough liquidity in it to even try it for that. And that's where these ETFs come in. That's where these DATs come in. That's where, we just had, a 40 Act wrapper for kind of like a GBTC product that was launched earlier today or announced earlier today. You're going to have significant amount of demand from institutions, from exchanges, from banks, and from these structured products all at the same time. And when you do, that's when we're going to have a supply shock that causes price to rise to a level where it can then be used in the capacity that you mentioned here and for the settlement of these other markets. And it will be sustained at those high values because of the volume of transactions that will then be moving over the network. Hopefully that makes sense. We got the Big Shrimp. What's up, man? He says, what's your go-to pre-workout? And looking to take profits this week for FOMO and ETF, any price in mind for XRP? I don't really ever take profits. Shrimp, the Big Shrimp, excuse me, Mr. Shrimp. But again, I can borrow against it, right? So as price appreciates, I don't think we're going further down than around, I think with bottoms in. I think the next leg is moving up here for XRP. I think you're going to get a rotation out of Bitcoin. I think we're at that point in the cycle here. And, borrowing against your asset is tax-free. Selling your asset books profits, but it also costs you some taxes. And you lose the asset, right? Like you lose the golden goose if you sell it. So for me, it's not my game. I would rather wait and know that it's a high sustained value, and then be able to borrow against it at very good interest rates, which we're working on right now at Digital Wealth Partners. And not have to worry about the taxes. Now, when it comes to the pre-workout, I don't know if you guys ever used Jack 3D, but man, that stuff was the best stuff on the market when it was out, before it was taken off the market because it was legal. It had hormones and stuff in it. I haven't taken any pre-workout in a long time. I normally just drink like a C4 because I don't train hard anymore. Like I used to go in the gym. Like somebody was saying something on squats the other day, and guy started, running his mouth. And I said, my normal Tuesday used to be throwing up doing squats. Like that's how hard I used to train all the time. Like that's what it was. The most I ever did for squats was birthday squats. So I don't know if you guys do these or not, but on your birthday, you squat 315 for whatever your age is. That's what Michael Hearn does every year. So, and I've done that pretty much every year. I didn't do it last year. I tore my hamstring. I'm getting old. And I did 225 for my age instead. I know. I backed off a little bit, but the most I ever did was when I turned 27. I did 315 for 37 reps when I was 27. And so the next week I was like, well, you know what? I got 315 for 37 last week. I'm just going to go 405. So the most I ever got was 405 for 27 reps when I was 27 years old. And then I was taking pre-workouts. I should have had some smelling salts. I never play that game. My business partner, Max Avery, used to be a power lifter and did all that fun stuff. But yeah, I drink a C4 is what I take for pre-workout now. Trev, he says, thanks for being a man of the people, my guy. Absolutely, dude. Look, I'm just like everybody else here. I don't come from a lot of money. I didn't grow up poor. I won't say that. I definitely, if you want to call it white privilege, for sure, probably white privilege. We didn't want for anything. My dad did work hard. He made 6 figures for the majority of his life and provided and did. We lived in a nice home in a nice area. It's not, worst thing that ever happened to me was I got made fun of because I was fat when I was little. Like, that's not a hard life. But again, I've worked hard for what I have. I continue to work hard. We're working 14 to 16-hour days every single day. And, I have a vision for what I want for my life and my family. And I've worked with blue-collar people my whole life. Used to do, construction sales for the majority of my career. But anyway, he said, do you think that the BOJ will increase their rates at their meeting this month? Also, what are your thoughts on NASDAQ testing Ripple's technology? I think NASDAQ is absolutely testing Ripple's technology for the settlement of the back end of the stock market. And I don't know that they even need Ripple's technology. I don't have my R3 mug in here anymore, but that's who I think they're actually going to use. But that still leads to XRP. So just fine by me. But I do think the increase in the rates will have a pretty significant effect this month as things play out here. And hopefully you guys get some appreciation on your crypto. I think we're going to see it move up here in the market. I don't know how we can't. We got Bo Harvey. What's up, man? He says, same opinion of Tether with regulated stablecoin. So I actually put a tweet out about this, Bo. I think they have pivoted. I don't know if you ever seen that Friends episode where they're like taking the couch up the stairs and he's like, pivot. He's like, anyway, it's a good gif if you haven't seen it. Yeah, I think, now they really can blow the other one up because they have a new one. And they've announced that they're going to launch that before the end of the year. So I do think they're going to probably push some liquidity into that. They do need to be like regulatory compliant. And with that pivot and Bo Hines, excuse me, and you're Bo Harvey. You guys, well, you're not related, obviously, but yeah, him going over there and their new stablecoin, I do think that now's the time, and the reverse carry trade is going to be what causes Tether to implode on itself, and then Bitcoin, and then all the other currencies. And that is all part of the domino theory that I've laid out. So if you want to learn more about that, you can go check out the Mastermind. We talk about that and everything else there. You can use the code up at the top of the screen here. It is Beyond Broke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you the first month for $2 there in the Mastermind, both social and Carbon One. And we have our, probably our 5th event this year that we've done this Friday here in Dallas. So if that sounds cool to you, if you are close in proximity to Dallas, or if you just want to come in and meet another 400 people that all have aligned interest and want to hang out and meet good friends that you'll be able to hang out with post price appreciation, they'll all be here in Dallas at a really cool location. Again, if you're part of the Mastermind, you'll know where that's at, and we would love to have you there in attendance. We've got K87. He says, hey, Jake, or she, excuse me. Last week, you briefly mentioned Electroneum. What are your thoughts on that one? They're part of the Digital Pound Foundation. It's for micropayments. They are an app like Wise or one of these other, European payment apps that allows for peer-to-peer payments. They do have market penetration. I don't know, over the long term, maybe there's an acquisition or what the use of that network is, but I do think it's going to be one of the ones that sticks around, post the implosion and there's like, 99% of crypto goes away, I do think Electroneum will be around. What's the price go to? Just depends on the adoption of the application and the peer-to-peer payments in the jurisdictions that they're targeting. So I could calculate that up and see to what the total addressable market would be for what they're trying to capture. And then you could use that to kind of back into a price there for however many tokens exist. I don't even know the tokenomics on Electroneum. I would have to go do some research before I could really give you a good price prediction on that one. But I do like it, and I do think it'll be around. We've got El Paso off-road. It's kind of like El Paso, but it's El Paso. He says, "Hey, Jake, thanks for all that you do. Hope that your family is well. Beyond Broke Mastermind here. It's awesome, dude. Glad to have you in the group. How long till there is XRP supply shortage?" We already have a shortage, my man. I don't know if you've looked at the numbers for Coinbase, but they've gone from 1 billion XRP down to less than 100 million just in the last month here. So the supply shock is starting to be orchestrated. They are starting to move the amounts of XRP off of exchanges and limit that ability for institutions to buy and aggregate XRP to be able to fulfill their mandate with spot ETFs. So it's coming. And again, this is one of those indicators that I'm talking about here in 2025 that I think is going to drive the price to 3 and 4 digits for XRP. And again, not financial advice. Do your own research. I'm just some guy on the internet. Don't listen to me. Invest at your own risk type thing. Personally, I don't own anything else. All my entire net worth, besides the equity in our corporations, it's in XRP. And any additional money I get, that's where it goes. So we've got Wayne. What's up, Wayne? He says Coinbase insurance only covers hacks. If you pay $300 per month, it covers nothing else. I have most of my assets with DWP and Anchorage. How does their insurance compare? Does your insurance cover regardless of loss, bankruptcy, etc.? So it is crime insurance and it's covered. You don't have to pay anything additional beyond the AUM fees that we charge. It's inherent for Anchorage there. So any type of fraud or manipulation or hack where you had a loss in assets, they would, cover it. Bankruptcy is a different deal. So Anchorage is bankruptcy remote. What that means is you're not a creditor in that situation. If you have your assets on Coinbase and they go bankrupt, you are absolutely a creditor. They own your assets and they owe them back to you just like a bank does for your money. So that's any exchange, really. Even Caleb and Brown, they can talk about institutional custody all they want. They're not bankruptcy remote. They own your assets when you have them on their platform. So unfortunately, there's not any insurance for bankruptcy. But you have relief of stay, which is like BNY Mellon, and then the next best thing from relief of stay is being bankruptcy remote, like Anchorage is. And again, the insurance that we have there covers cyber crime, risk, all of that stuff. But the 100 million that they have is specific for crime insurance, which covers any form of fraud, hacks, or loss in that same manner. We got Group 1, Gavin. He says, brother, a self-managed super fund, all in XRP at DWP with the rocket. That's what I'm talking about, dude. Retirement is in 8 years' time. Any ideas on what could be a good move at the moment? Hope the film shoot went. It did. It went great. Really had a great time with the guys there last Wednesday at the location here in Dallas at our office shooting for the series, which I'm going to go ahead and talk about it. I'm not going to tell you the name of it though. They got Robert Kiyosaki. They got the Mandela family. They got us. They got people in Panama. Really interesting stuff going on there. And I think we're going to see that they're going to get Brad Garlinghouse. They're going to get Danelle Dixon. They're going to get a lot of other people that you guys would like to hear from when it comes to the transition of money from what it has been to where it's going. And we're in the middle of that, which is wild to me. So It's going to be a bunch of episodes that air on a large network and then later on streaming channels as well. We got V, and also just want to go back. Self-managed super fun with XRP at EWP is awesome, my man. V says, evening, Jake. I just pulled my Bitcoin out of my keypad that I put it in 2020. Let's say the dollar amount was $100. It wasn't. I put it in on an exchange and the value never changed. Should it appreciate? It sounds like you didn't buy Bitcoin. I don't know what you bought, but yeah, it would definitely have appreciated substantially since 2020 if you bought Bitcoin. And it wouldn't have mattered when you bought Bitcoin in 2020. It would be way up now from whatever you put in. So if the dollar value didn't change when you moved it over to an exchange off of your wallet, you didn't buy Bitcoin. It's maybe Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin Silver or some other Bitcoin that wasn't the actual Bitcoin. And again, that's kind of the problem, right? Like, see so many people get defrauded or just buy the wrong thing. They think, like, this is a great example. I don't know if you guys remember Zoom, okay, during COVID. Like, how many people started using Zoom or video calls during COVID? Me. Before that, I didn't ever do this, right? And people bought the stock that was Zoom, except that stock wasn't Zoom. It was some other penny stock. And that penny stock had this huge run because people thought they were buying the Zoom stock, but they had got that ticker and Zoom was something else. So it kind of runs, you have this happen in crypto all the time. People think they're buying one thing and it's not that thing, it's something completely different. And unfortunately, I hate that for you, V. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully it changes for you or it's the right thing. But if you moved it off your cold wallet and you only put a certain amount in and that's still the same amount that you have today, it wasn't Bitcoin that you bought. High Point says, howdy, Jake. From Dallas, once the ETFs start, how are they initially set? And do those listings of the ETF set the price they are willing to sell to drive up prices? So they'll trade close to the NAV and they trade in whatever ratio they've set. So they should trade almost even with the NAV or the net asset value. So let's say you had a backing of 5 XRP per share. They would open up at $15 if they listed today, right? So if it's trading at the NAV, which it should be, you shouldn't have, you have some interesting stuff what happens with trusts and GBTC and like this other one that was announced today that's like Osprey, the people that are launching it, that could trade off the NAV. It could be like a leveraged play because of the way they've structured that product. It's a closed-end fund that's going to trade publicly. And it's not all XRP. It owns some other assets. So, but with the ETFs, they should trade to the NAV. And there's going to be a ratio. So they're going to have to hold however many XRP they're supposed to be holding per share. And that's another interesting piece here. All of these, like, none of them are sats like Bitcoin. They are all like 5, 10, 20, 50 XRP per share. None of them are fractions of an XRP per share. So if we do get some price appreciation, the share prices of these ETFs are going to be sky high when they get rolled out. And they can change, the ratio later on in order to shore things up if they need to. But at initial launch, they're going to have to be buying a lot of XRP to back these shares as they're issued. We got K Moore. What's up, man? How are you, sir? He's at 922. It's a sneaky super chat. I like it, sir. He says, as the summer ends, fall begins, pun intended. Those that have weathered the storm, congrats to you. You've earned it. Popcorn is ready. I like it, man. Maybe that's got something to do with it. Fall and the fall of Bitcoin or the fall of Tether would be interesting if that were to be the case. And 922 is not that far. We got the equinox fall equinox here in just a few days, about a week away. We got wood stove bear. Interesting name. They say when XRP is worth $1,000, $10,000, or $100,000, what will 1K, 10K, or 100K be worth? I think it'll act. This is going to be controversial. Wood stove, Mr. Bear. I think money will actually be worth more. I think that they are going to shore up the US dollar and back the treasuries with gold again. You got Judy Sheldon talking about that for, the 250-year anniversary, backing a 50-year bond with gold. People buying those treasuries would then be backing their stablecoins with those treasuries, which would be redeemable for gold and pay a good yield. And the dollar value will continue to escalate and grow, and no longer be deflationary. Now, that's a big change in just a year from now. You would basically, completely get rid of the fractional reserve banking system. You would no longer just be able to print funny money or fiat in perpetuity. And I don't know that that piece is going to go away. And I don't know that free money is a wonderful thing. That's why so many people have borrowed from the Bank of Japan. We've been spoiled with low interest rates. But I will say this, you need credit in society. There's a reason that everybody comes and raises money here in the US, because capital markets here in the US are willing to take risks that other places in the world aren't. And that's also why we have such progressive tech here in the US. And that's why we're the leader in progressive tech rather than anywhere else in the world, with Silicon Valley and many of the other things that we have. And you're able to go to a bank, you're able to go to people, and they will lend you money here in the US to be able to buy assets, start businesses, do other things. I wish that they would be, a little more lenient on some of that stuff. But after 08, I understand why they're not. They have a pretty strict underwriting process at this point. Tangent here, but I would really like to see, Trump be right about Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and then them go public. I think auditing their books would be very interesting. To be able to put them through the process required to go public and get them squared away on everything, I think would solve a lot of the problems and frictions and issues that company has had over the years. So anyway, kind of back to your question here. I think money will actually be worth more. I think the ROI on XRP will be significant in dollar terms, but even greater so if the dollar itself actually ends up being shored up. I don't think people really understand the gravity of this opportunity. I don't think I even understand the gravity of this opportunity with XRP. And I come on here and I talk about it and research it and deal with it and live it every single day. And I talk to the institutions, I talk to Ripple, I talk to R3, I talk to all of these large corporations. And again, I want to say it again. I don't think I even grasp how large of an opportunity XRP is in relative terms, like you're discussing there. And we'll see if that's right or wrong at the end of the day, but I think it is. If you had a chance to own a piece of the protocol that was going to move all of the money on the planet for the next 1,000 years, that's what this is. We got Beyond Blessed. What's up? They said legend. January 2025 was my XRP birthday. I feel like a petulant teenager sometimes wanting this to hurry up. Then remembering the OGs holding for years, blessed in the waiting. I've said this before, but I'll kind of go back to it again. A lot of people are new here. Love to have you here. Thank you guys so much for taking time on a Monday and hanging out with me. And if you're here, you're ahead of 99.99999% of people. That said, though, a lot of people have been here a long time. A lot of people have, there was 2.5 million XRP wallets on the day of the lawsuit. I was looking at the rich list just a few days before the lawsuit was filed in 2020. And now we have almost 7 million wallets, almost 5 years later here. Bamboo takes 5 years to grow. Interesting correlation. But if you wanted to cultivate these skills, traits, and beliefs in people while they held something and invested their time, energy, resources, blood, sweat, and tears, because that's normally what it takes to actually get this wealthy in a very short period of time, in a 5-year period, to be able to make, millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars for people, doesn't happen unless you are basically foregoing everything else in your life and dumping all of your energy into a business. That's really like the only other way to do it. And so if you wanted people to have a better chance of actually sustaining this over the long term and being able to utilize it for the good that they're able to do in the world, you would want to cultivate all those things that would normally be required in order to attain hundreds of millions of dollars. And the only way you're going to do that is through perseverance and patience and continued effort, grit. The number one indicator of success beyond intelligence, connections, almost anything is grit. If you are able to persevere, knowing and having faith through what seems like an abyss, what is Elon Musk says entrepreneurship is like staring to into the abyss and eating glass. I could relate with that. That's probably not that bad for holding XRP, even though it might feel like that sometimes. But if you have conviction in something and true belief and faith, and you're willing to persevere, you will be successful at the end of it. It will take a long time, though, and it will suck while it's going on. But it'll be worth it at the end. We got Mr. Gomez. They say, "Hey, Jake, I have over 1,500 XRP. Don't tell people how much you got, man. You got a unique name, and now you're telling people how much XRP you got." He says, "I have a foreign LLC and a foreign trust. You think with Wyoming it's the best bet? Tokens off ledger." Tokens or off ledger? Yeah, it's not going to matter where you live unless you live in Wyoming. It's going to be a foreign trust or LLC. You might have to file reciprocity with your state. If you're in California or some other states that have higher income tax, they're going to require it. We'll do all that for you. Very simple and easy. We can also do trusts. We can do asset protection trusts. We can do living trusts. We can do spendthrift trust. We can do dynasty trust. We can do insurance trust. Whatever type of trust you want that is the best tool for you and your family at the time, we can structure that within your estate plan. We have some of the best estate planners in the world, especially for digital assets that we work with, both domestic here in the US and foreign. Yeah, would love to help you with that. If you guys do want to set up an LLC to be able to manage your assets in Wyoming, gives you creditor protection. It provides you anonymity. You can season in bank accounts now and set up a bank account so that you can take large profits without any flags or things being frozen. And if you set it up now, you're not rushing around at the last minute making emotional decisions and without guidance, right? So I highly recommend, if you've got somewhere between $50,000 and $80,000 in digital assets, to go ahead and set up an LLC today. And you can do that by going to digitalfamilyoffice.io. You can use the code 50OFF, 50OFF DAGLLC. That's 50OFF DAGLLC at digitalfamilyoffice.io. And you get everything end-to-end, corporate veil, EIN, articles of organization, template for the operating agreement, which is going to be the most expensive thing and likely wrong if it's done by an attorney that doesn't understand digital assets. Or if you just download one offline, please don't do that and set it up on LegalZoom. I know people want to save money. If you do this right, it's going to cost you $4,000. We're going to do it for $2,000 end to end, and we're going to make sure that you have the creditor protection. We're going to make sure you have meeting minutes and board resolution, and you issue the equity in your company. All of the stuff that you need to actually be doing that you probably don't know how to do if you've never managed a corporation before, even if you have managed a company before. There's lots of people I know that don't do that stuff. And so your corporate veil is going to be pierced, or you're going to commingle stuff. Like our paralegals that we work with to maintain this are some of the best in the country. And they'll make sure that you are structured the right way and that you have full creditor protection on your assets. So what do the wealthy do? Well, they control everything and they own nothing. Getting these stuff out of your personal name now versus later is a fantastic way to do it. And again, we're happy to help you. Doesn't have to be us. You can work with any attorneys. I just suggest that you start looking at that and figuring it out now before it's a problem later. We are close to an hour and a half in, and I am still way up in the chat. So I'm going to lightning round the rest of this for the next 45 minutes. We're going to try to get through all these super chats for you guys. We got Manzo. He says, legend. So I have a loan that I use to buy XRP. Is it better to sell percentage after price goes up or borrow against it instead as a DAG client? Well, it depends on the interest rate, Manzo, is what I would just look at the numbers. The loan that you have may be at a good interest rate. I don't know if you got like an SBA loan or a HELOC or what type of loan you got in order to buy the XRP, but if it's at 7 or 8%, you can't borrow against your XRP today at the same interest rate to be able to pay off that loan. You always want to be going down on the interest that you're paying, right? If you're consolidating debt or credit card debt, you're doing that with somebody that's going to give you a loan at a lower interest rate than your credit card debt, right? Like that's the whole point of that. So as interest rates come down against your XRP, which they will, then yeah, it could very much make sense to be able to borrow against it, pay off the other loan with a new loan against your XRP, because you know the XRP is going to continue to appreciate. And one, you may not want to issue, get the capital gains and those costs in order to be able to pay back that loan. Now, servicing debt, paying off debt, interest that you pay, not taxable, right? It's a write-off. So I don't know how you borrowed if it's in your personal name, under your corporation. You want to get with a CPA, you want to get with wealth managers, you're going to work with a team to make the best choices for you in your specific situation. But I kind of give you, there's a lot of different constraints that you would want to consider before choosing one path or the other for what you laid out there. We got Bog Step. Interesting name. Thank you for the super chat. They say, I purchased the LLC bundle with the discount code and then mistakenly added the corporate veil for the extra 1,000. I didn't realize it was included. What should I do? Just email us, my man. Yeah, we'll refund it. No big deal. I don't know what your email is. I got your YouTube name here, but all you have to do is shoot our team an email at support. That's support at digitalfamilyoffice.io and just say, hey, I goofed. I thought I needed both. I didn't know it was included. Can you refund the 1,000? We'll take care of you. And I try to exude this and bring this culture to our company. We're here to take care of people, not take advantage of people. Okay. I've had people screw me over lots of times and be like, this ain't Wally World. We don't issue refunds. Man, if you nickel and dime people, they're not going to want to do business with you. If you're willing to work with people when they mess up or do something silly, you build trust with people, and myself included. There's been lots of people that have I'm not perfect. I do stupid stuff. And sometimes it costs me money, and sometimes people help me out, and I really appreciate that. And I don't forget it. You know what I mean? So we want to do that for clients. Again, not here to rake people or, it is a business. We do need to be able to make money and be profitable in order to be able to pay our employees over the long term. And really, we're just now to a point where every time we've made more money in the business, I just dump it back in and hire better people and more people to be able to provide services at scale. Because I know that we're going to need them. I know that this isn't going to slow down. I know that assets are going to appreciate. And we're trying to scale as fast as we can to be able to meet that demand where it's at. So, hopefully 5-10 years from now, I look up and we really do make a good living off of this. But now it's just making sure that we keep the lights on and keep people employed and keep expanding and growing services and providing value. Anyway, yeah, just email us and we're happy to work that out for you and get that refund going. We got Alman. He says, Jake, thanks for everything. What is your plan with XRP? Will you liquidate? I don't ever plan to sell any. It's the golden goose for me. You know, I have other sources of income that I live off of at this point, and I do have my XRP parked making interest at this point also with our fund. So if you guys want to go check that out, you can go to digitalwealthpartners.net. You can go to the contact us form. If you have over 100,000 XRP or at least $500,000 in total portfolio value, and you are accredited, there's the caveat, and you have an LLC. I know there's a lot of ands here. Okay, so there's some qualifiers for this, but if you meet all those things and you want to earn interest on your XRP, we have the complete legal compliant way to do it. Zero counterparty risk. We've mitigated all of that. We're probably, we're up close to 3% this quarter on the income fund based on the last numbers and projections that they sent me. So that's like 1% a month. I would love that. If we could pay, 1% a month on your XRP, and obviously these are quarterly distributions, so it's not ever going to be a monthly deal with the way we have things structured today. Over the long term, we definitely want to get there. Hell, I would like a daily distribution if we could do it. And that's the promise of DeFi, but we're not there yet. Today, it is a quarterly distribution, but if it was 3% a quarter, that's 12% a year. Hell yeah, that would be awesome. So, that's kind of the goal. That's what we're targeting. And we're on course for that this quarter. So I think people that are, working with us and are invested in the fund are going to have a really good first week of October when they get their dividend off the fund. We've got Cornelius. They say, Jake, what's your opinion about XPR? Man, he says no one talks about them. I've only done research and seen them. They seem to be some heavy hitters. Haven't talked to them in a long time, and I'll just give you the full deal. We met with them early on and brought them an opportunity to tokenize like a lot of assets on their network. Their total DEX right now, the most throughput that they could put through their the liquidity on their network, 1.4 million. It's nothing. There's no liquidity in it. There's no way it will work for the use case that they are espousing that it would work for. I want it to work. I want them to be successful. I don't like their marketing tactics. I don't like that Marshall won't actually answer any questions and just blocks people when they ask about just normal stuff that he should be able to answer. We met with their team, like I said, early on, and they wouldn't tokenize pretty much anything that we brought to them. I don't know why you need a layer 0. Just a lot of the stuff they do doesn't make much sense. And again, I hope I'm wrong. I hope people make a bunch of money with XPR. But why would you name it XPR if it came out after XRP? Why wouldn't you just come up with something original and not try to play it? I don't know. It's not my cup of tea. It's not my thing. I personally stay away from it. But again, I'm blind to some things. I am ignorant. I hope people that have invested in it make a bunch of money, and I just miss out on that one. So, we got OMG Tracer. They say, Jake, who is the craziest XRP holder you know? Or at least one that you're allowed to disclose. Thanks, Nice Shirt Legend. Appreciate it, man. Cheers. I don't know what you mean by craziest. I can think of some crazy ones. There's people from all walks of life that own this asset that are trying to get out of whatever position they're in. I mean, I know some really wealthy, I don't know what you're trying to get from me. I know some really wealthy people. There's many high-level athletes that we've met with that own XRP. I had a call today from a pretty prominent bodybuilder that owns XRP. A lot of business people, previous risk officers for very large banks, banking executives, people that work in tech at banks, CEOs, people that well, I'll tell you one. Dan Fleischman. Fleischman. You want to go look him up? I think he's like 42 or 43 now. Dan was the youngest person to ever take a company public at 19 years old. Early investor in Bitcoin, early investor in Ethereum, early investor in Solana. Dan is pretty confident, if not a billionaire, pretty close, because of the investments he's made in private equity and his digital assets. That was the first time, like, and Dan didn't know me that well. I've seen him, I don't know, in person maybe 5 or 6 times in my life. But he puts on these events called Elevator Nights, and I flew to one in 21 in Miami. Went there. It was an NFT one that he put on. He was nice enough to pay for lunch. A lot of us went to lunch. I saw the bill. It was like 20 grand. He just stroked a check. Didn't even flinch, like didn't even look at it, just signed it. And that's when I was like, oh, like that's the level of wealthy that I want to be, when your lunch for your buddies was 20 grand and you just stroke a check and don't like even care or think about it. We all can dream, right? I think we're on the way there. But anyway, so he puts on the event, and he's got some crazy people that are at this event. Jordan Belford was at that event. Wolf of Wall Street. He does own XRP also, by the way. TikTok, if you didn't know. But anyway, when the night was over, I went to go up to my hotel room, and Dan just happened to get in the elevator at the same time as me. And he had the penthouse there at the hotel. And I acted like I missed my floor. And was like, I got to go back down. So we go up. The penthouse is the whole top floor. So he knows, like, I'm on the elevator with him, and this is weird that I would be riding up here, because you can't get up here unless you have the key card to even scan to get to this floor. And before he got off the elevator, I said, hey, I just have one question. Do you own any XRP? And he just looked at me and smiled, nodded, and then got off the elevator. So people talk about, why don't these billionaires own XRP? They do. They bought it early. They're not buying it now. There are a lot of very wealthy people that have significant allocations to XRP. Many people that have had exits in businesses that are buying now or have bought a lot before. Matthew Mellon, that died tragically, had like 1 billion XRP that his family's gotten back. So I don't know if that's what you meant by craziest. There's other people that I know that are crazy that also own XRP. And you could also probably say we're all a little bit crazy. Like, if you're here and you are noticing what's going on, and you've made an allocation to this asset before other people, my definition of crazy is that you can see things other people can't see. And sometimes you're just a lunatic. And that's actually my preferred adjective, is lunatic. But we'll see. We'll see how crazy or delusional we are when it actually works. We got John 316. A great name, dude. He says, thank you for all that you do. Question, how soon after starting Wyoming LLC do you have to begin paying payroll? 2 to 3 years. You can have a disregarded entity for 2 to 3 years and not, you just don't have any income, no expenses. You can file as a disregarded entity. It's just a checkbox. Pretty simple when you file your taxes. They get weird if it's more than 3 years where you don't pay yourself payroll. But if you don't have any income, and you're just holding assets in it, I mean, what are they going to do? If they audit you, they're like, oh, well, yeah, there was no income here for you to owe taxes on. We got Mark, Mr. Newburn. Yeah, it's Newburn. He says, what doubt think will happen? I'm assuming, do you think what will happen XRP doesn't meet the mature blockchain criteria? Man, sorry. Do you see any issues with it not meeting that criteria? Who makes this stuff up? Mature blockchain. It's kind of like institutional custody. I have my definition of institutional custody that is a much higher standard than other people's definition of institutional custody, but they can still market it and say it, and they're not wrong because they made up their own definition of what institutional custody is. So a mature blockchain, like, is it total market cap? Is it the number of validators on the network? Is it the number of nodes on the network? Is it how long it's been around? Like, what is their definition of a mature blockchain? I'd have to go look it up in Google and figure out, like, what's the criteria and why XRP didn't meet it for me to actually give you a meaningful answer here. And I apologize that I'm coming, unprepared for that question, because I did see something about it on Twitter today. But I looked at it and was like, nothing burger is the way that I thought about it. So again, just my personal opinion. I've seen too much, read too much, had too many conversations. I'm not concerned at all. Michael, he says, hey, Jake, if events are coordinated, when it happens, the financial system goes down. Do you think the National Guard being deployed is preemptive to keep the peace when it happens? To tinfoil hat. Michael, it's not too tinfoil hat. Like, there's a lot of scenarios that could play out, like doomsday type stuff, and we could go back to Mad Max and like barter and do gold and silver and all that. It's why would they do that? That's not in anybody's interest. Is there a solar flare that comes and that's their way of doing it, and it's just a blackout for a period of time and people freak out? Or do they cut the underwater sea cables and we're down for like 5 or 6 hours and something comes back up because we're able to use Starlink? They have redundancies in these systems. Like, people are pretty smart. Most like high-level people that are at these corporations that build this infrastructure, they're sharp. They're not just going to let the world revert back to the Stone Age. Okay, and I know there's a lot of people out there that fearmonger, and fear porn like gets people's attention, and it gets a lot of views and clicks and all this stuff. I don't see any risk of that, especially now that we have so many redundancies in place with multiple things. I don't know why you would need the National Guard to come in and protect people. And maybe I'm just I have some bias because I'm here in the South and I've just grown up with people that have guns and ammo and like animals, and people here are pretty self-sufficient for the most part, and also pretty cordial and like willing to work together as a community. I've been to other places that aren't like that, so maybe in those places that would go over well. Here it wouldn't go over well. Tell you that. People here would not do well with the government sending people to control us. There would be Minutemen and militias and like not going to go over well here in Texas. So again, I'm not worried about a Mad Max scenario or any of the fear porn or any of that stuff that's out there. I don't think it's wrong to be prepared. I'll say that. There's a lot of people that have, since 2020, stockpiled food and gold and silver and water, and they've got, a bug out bag, and they've got a bunch of stuff ready in case poop does hit the fan. I think that's great. Preparedness is awesome. But I don't know that you're going to have to use any of that. Mark, he says, holding since 2017. My man. He says, wrote the original XRP design for 10,000 article in early 19. Waiting is hard, but it helps to live every day as a blessing. Love that, dude. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being here. And thank you for your contributions to the community over the time that you've been participating. I know that it's been a long road for people like yourself. And happy for you. If you bought an early 17, you're up, you know, just 100x. Just 100x on your investment. Congrats, man. And I think that's just the beginning. We got Spencer. He says, Jake, the man, the myth, the legend. Thank you for the super chat. He says, thanks for all that you do. I've learned so much from you, and I'm now laser focused on not messing this up. Patience is key. I look forward to working with you and your team. Thank you, dude. Appreciate that. We look forward to working with you and everybody else here. If you would like to do that, again, we want to provide resources. We want to be helpful. We want to provide value. I'm not here to replace anybody or show you anything. I'm biased. You know, we built the company. A lot of the professionals we use are people that I used myself. We're continuing to build out services that I want for myself, and just building them for the community to be able to borrow against their XRP insurance policies, set things up the right way, make sure that you can't lose the asset, that your family's taken care of if something happens, it's insured. You have ways to generate returns on it and create cash flow, all before the banks do it. And even DeFi. We have it in place. So anyway, if you want to work with us, it's fantastic. It's just digitalfamilyoffice.io. We'll help you set up, you know, the LLC and get your estate planning done. And then if you want to work with the wealth management, that's Digital Wealth Partners. They are a subsidiary of Digital Family Office and Digital Ascension Group. And they will do institutional custody, be able to generate returns on the XRP, borrow against it, give you an advisor that will actually tell you what to buy in crypto, which is pretty cool. We want to be a one-stop shop for everything, but that doesn't mean you have to use this for everything. I also want you to have good people in your corner wherever you live. So try to find those people as well. We got Honest Aim. What's up, man? Hope you guys are doing well. He says, Jake, the legend. Respect for all that you do for us. No question tonight. But I'll have one for you tomorrow in Carbon 2, where you can share more details. Flowers to you, your team, and the tea lady. Thank you, dude. We do have a Carbon 2 call on Tuesday nights. Yes, so many fantastic people in that community now. Like I mentioned, over 7,200 people there in the mastermind. I think we have almost 200 people, maybe a little bit more than 200 people in the Carbon 2 group. We have an exclusive call on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Where it's a lot more intimate. We don't record those. I share a lot of stuff there that I don't share here publicly or even in the broader mastermind, to talk about some stuff that I play pretty close to the vest there with Carbon 2, because again, it's not recorded. It's an open forum. We share that with people. So if that's interesting to you, we would love to have you there on the Carbon 2 call tomorrow night. It is a little pricier for that one. Not everybody can afford it. It's $250 a month for the Carbon 2 tier. But I want to make sure those people get the value they're paying for also. So we have a lot of extra special stuff for that group. So if that sounds cool to you, again, you can go to beyondbroke.com and use the code right here. It is beyondbroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you the first month for $2 in any one of those groups there for the mastermind. Mr. Affiliated says, hey, legend, is the yen unwind begin? Is the yen unwind begin? Oh, being, golly, I can't read, it's late. Engineered as a controlled crisis just to pave the way for programmable cryptocurrency to swoop in as the solution and win public trust. Yes. You laid that out really well. Yes, that's exactly what it's doing. And they've known this is going to happen for a long time, so why let a crisis go to waste? Why not orchestrate it and get the outcomes that you want? We got X. They say, "Hey, legend. My name is Malcolm." It's pretty good. He's Malcolm X. It's pretty good. He says, "Can you let us know what your religious background is? You seem very grounded." Yeah, I can talk about that. You know, I don't like using religion as a platform. I have a good relationship with God. I pray every night, and sometimes multiple times a day. I should pray probably more often, and I should probably read my Bible more often. But grew up Baptist. Went to church, you know, every Sunday till I was probably, I don't know, 12 when my grandma died. And then, you know, I tried to go to some other churches. These large church, I don't like being preached at, and being told. And it was kind of like fire and brimstone when I was growing up in Baptist church, you know, similar to like Pentecostal and some other ones. I don't do well with that. I do really well when people tell stories, and then they use faith in that story and they relate it to scripture. I really like that because I don't feel like you're trying to sell me on it. Or again, same way, I just want to be treated the way I treated other people. I want to empower other people. I don't want to be a fear monger, right? And so, and I like stories, right? If you have a situation in your life that you've gone through that is related to scripture, and you can weave that in and show, you know, where your faith in God worked, and it relates to the book, I think that's great. I also think that the book has been manipulated almost end to end. There's, you know, 27 different books that have been taken out of the Bible. The book of Enoch and many other things have been removed to make things appear a certain way. And I don't like that. I wish that all of it was there for you to make your own decisions on things. So, you know, I spend some of my spare time reviewing a lot of religious texts and other religions. I don't know that I ascribe to a specific version of Christianity, but I would say Christianity would be my background and my belief system. Jesus Christ is my savior. And he's who I put my, you know, my faith in at the end of the day. So anyway, you know, again, I don't like to come on here and espouse things or use that as a platform. There's other people that do that, and I don't really trust those people. I have a hard time with that when you like utilize religion to make money. Feels skeezy to me. You know, my relationship with God is my relationship with God, and I don't feel the need to come on here and. But I mean, you'll hear me say things, right? Like I weave it in, but it's not my whole platform either. We got Josh. He says, "What's up, legend? Everybody join the mastermind." That's what I'm talking about, Josh. He says, "What do you think about Coinbase only having 99 million XRP left in their reserve? Orchestrating that supply shock, my man. That's what's coming. All of that is coming." He says, "Hi, Jake. Any advice for people with less than with 3 to 5K XRP? Hold and buy when you can. I know it's not 30 cents anymore, so it's not cheap to buy like it used to be. It's hard to get a large amount of it now." We got Marissa. She says, "Spaces today. One of the two opinions to keep your Ripple unit shares were locked in a trust until going public. Have you heard of that before?" Yeah. So qualified purchasers. So this is referring to the Link 2 deal that's happening. Very familiar with all of that. There's going to be two options for qualified purchasers. People that are not accredited or people that are just accredited are just going to have one option, and that's going to be the liquidating trust. So hopefully you will get your shares. I do think that they are going to do the right thing and actually protect investor interest here, and that's going to be, I'm really happy about the outcome that I think is going to prevail. Six Shooter says, "Since XRP can only handle 1500 TPS, is that the reason the price has to be high in order to scale?" Good question. The answer is, well, they're doing batch payments on the XRPL. They have that amendment that's going through, but they also are going to have some type of subnet, whether that's implicit or explicit. That's what allows the XRPL to scale to an infinite number of transactions. And that information came from Matt Hamilton, who is often one of the biggest pricks out there on Twitter. I don't like to talk bad about people, but he is. And I think he would probably tell you that he is too. I think he knows that he's really rude sometimes. But, you know, I have been respectful in a lot of conversations with him, and that was actually what he told me was you needed an implicit or explicit subnet. And it just so happens that Bob Way has a patent for that. So I think that's what will allow it to scale. A couple more super chats, then we're going to wrap it up tonight. We got 14 minutes left before I'm going to call it a night. We got Reality Unplugged. They say, why does Bitcoin maxis hate on XRP so much or other utility tokens? Do they think Bitcoin will replace the current system? They should know the entire world of value will be tokenized. Bitcoin only works if XRP wins. Think about it. The only way Bitcoin gets full-scale adoption and actually is utilized for all of the, you know, applications that they want it to be is if it's on the XRPL and XRP settles all the Bitcoin transactions. They would hate that if you said it, but it is the truth. And they're like, oh, it only takes, you know, 20 minutes to settle a transaction. How's that going to work at a coffee shop? You tell me. You're just going to stand there for 20 minutes while your payment settles? Get out of here. Nobody's doing that. That's why El Salvador ditched this thing. It's not, and you're, oh, the Lightning Network. Okay, cool. Nice Band-Aid. Same thing as, you know, Polygon. When your layer 1 doesn't work worth a crap, you have to put a layer 2 on top of it to make it work. And it's not going to happen. So, look, and I'm very educated when it comes to Bitcoin. I could argue the other way, and that's why I have an opinion. So, you know, I'm with you. I think they're threatened by it, and that's why they get so defensive. And that's what I get that. I understand that, why you would react that way. We got Mike. He says, with the release of 1 billion escrow every month, will that not keep the crunch from happening, aka supply shock to XRP? Will 3,200 XRP be a decent amount and make some money? Couple good questions there, Mike. So a billion doesn't actually move onto the market every month. A billion is released from the escrow. Ripple then determines how much they're going to put on the market. They've actually re-escrowed about 700 million out of each one of the distributions or the escrow releases this whole year. Excuse me. So what does that mean? Well, that 700 million goes back onto the end of the escrow to come out later. So only about 300 million have been put onto the market each month this year, and that's been able to maintain price stability. Ripple could at any time decide not to put it on the market. And that would benefit them because they hold a bunch of XRP, and it would increase their share price and their XRP holdings. So they could just decide to re-escrow the whole thing if they wanted to. If they want the price to move up, they would. Again, people are like, oh, well, if there's a centralized, you know, party that controls, you know, what the price is. Yeah, they kind of do. I'm not mad about it. But no, it won't. They do use that to hold price stability, but as soon as they need it to move, they can go the other way with it and not release any of it if they don't want to. And then the second part of your question, will 3,200 XRP be a decent amount to make some money? I'm going to share a paradigm shift with you. Assets are not money. Wealthy people own assets. They don't keep cash. As soon as they get cash, they buy more assets because this is a debt-based system. People don't want to they don't invest the money to take capital gains. Wealthy people invest money to be able to get tax breaks so that because of their income, they have a bunch of income somehow. People have generated a bunch of income. They take that money that they've made and they park it somewhere else to be able to maintain the value of it, grow the value of it, protect the value of it, and mitigate taxes. That is what investing should be for. And it could also be to produce more cash flow. But I know a lot of people that are like, I want the value to go up and then I'm going to sell it. The wealthiest people that I know don't do that. That's not how they play the game. They're buying assets that cash flow to build up their cash flow, because cash flow is the lifeblood of what you need. Like, you need cash flow. If you're, a billionaire on paper and you don't have any cash flow, you're broke. And that happens. People are worth billions of dollars and have no cash flow. Now, if you're worth that much, you can take the stock options or whatever you have and go to the bank and be able to borrow against it, which is what wealthy people do. They borrow against their assets, which is tax-free because it's debt. So again, like, yes, I do think that it'll go up in value substantially, but if you're using it to make some money, I don't know that this is the best investment for that. You should probably look at real estate if you're looking to make some money. Now, we do have ways to generate cash flow with the XRP. We've figured that out. And we have ways to borrow against it at this point, just like real estate. So you get your cake and you can eat it too. You get all of the wonderful things. Most of the time when I invest in something, it has to have three pieces. One is real ROI. So it does better than inflation, whatever that is. Number two has to have cash flow. I want to be able to make money off of it. I want passive income off of it. And number three, I want to be able to leverage it. I need to be able to borrow against it in some way to be able to take that equity out of whatever it is, take a line of credit, and then be able to go buy something else and continue to invest money or create additional cash flow for myself and my family. So that's probably not the answer that you wanted or one that you thought you would get, but that's the one I got for you tonight. And I appreciate the super chat and you being here. I'm going to throw this up here because I saw it. There it is. Again, if you do want to set up an LLC, Liner's been nice enough to put the code here for you. Just use the code 50OFF DAGLLC at the website right there, digitalfamilyoffice.io/services/LLC-entity-formation/ or you can just go to digitalfamilyoffice.io and go to the services tab and you'll be able to find it there. But that is the code to get everything you need end to end for your LLC to manage your digital assets the right way for a couple grand. We're going to take 3 more super chats, then we're going to wrap it up tonight. We got John, Mr. Burnett. Appreciate the super chat. He says, the mighty legend. You guys kill me with the legend comments. He says, what are your thoughts on Flare and the facets? It's F assets. I think it's interesting. I had Hugo on the channel. If you haven't watched that podcast, I'd recommend go watching that podcast with me and Hugo. A lot of what he's talking about doing, we're already doing without DeFi and without all the smart contract risk and everything that he's got going on there. I think it's interesting. I need some more assurances. I need insurance. I want it to be regulated. He didn't care about regulation. He was like, we're just going to do whatever we want and the rest of the world can eat crow and I'll just do it in jurisdictions where I can and I really don't care about the US. And I was like, okay. So, I think it'll do well. I think it'll appreciate. I think F assets will be successful. At least I hope they are, because it's been a promise for 5 years now. We're just now getting it. And I don't know if they thought XRP was going to go sooner and then the lawsuit happened and then it got delayed or what really kind of transpired there. But it's been a long time coming on Flare and the F assets, because the snapshot was December 12th of 2020. And I was around for that. That was 5 years ago. We got a prod. They say, what's going on? This person keeps requesting. I'm not letting you up here, my man. What's going on with XLM? Not looking super, super good. I really don't even look at that chart. Not overly worried about XLM. Peer-to-peer payments is going to take a while. Back-end institutional settlement is what I'm focused on in the short term here. Sunny said, I thought I was weird for being the 4 a.m. early bird and CrossFitter. We do birthday burpees. It sucks getting old. See, that's what you just need to do, something that challenges you on your birthday for however many, do it however many times for years that you are old. That's awesome, Sonny. Keep kicking ass, man. You're doing awesome. We got Wake the Fork Up. I said legend. Does Little Shrimp realize you have 19-inch pythons outside of your obvious supply getting low? What else causes Coinbase supply to be so low with XRP? They're cold. It's 19 inches. They're not as big as they used to be. It's actually BlackRock. They moved a lot of assets off there to BlackRock for Coinbase, and I think they're going to do the same for a lot of these other exchanges as well. I thought it said Vegeta. I was excited. It's Vegeto Black. Is it Vegeta as his icon? Look, so something you guys don't know about me. I was a Dragon Ball Z fanatic when I was young. So Vegeto. It's cool. He says, Jake, I see Flare at $10 to $15 come January 2026 at a minimum. What's your probability that happens? Of course, not financial advice. What's your thoughts? Oh, what's Flare at today? I sold most of my Flare at 29 cents on the way down after they finally gave it out. Flare token. I know other people that think very similar to you. We got a good friend of ours in the Mastermind that thinks that. It's at 2 pennies, my man. 10 to 15 bucks. 4 months from now. All boats rise with a rising tide. And if XRP's 4 digits come January 2026, Flare could probably easy be $10 to $15. So I'm not going to say no. I'm going to say sure. We already talked about that one. A lot of people interested in Flare. I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and whoever has the last super chat, we're going to take that one. If I missed your super chat, I would love to answer it. I'm sorry I didn't get to it. All you got to do is join the Mastermind and send it to me as a DM. On that, when you join the Mastermind, or if you're on any other social media platform, I'm not going to message you. Not going to ask for your XRP. It's not me. It's a scam. Please block and report anybody that is impersonating me and messaging you on any social media platform, because it is not me. I don't message you. There is a rare occasion where somebody posts something that says, hey, message me, I can't message you, and I will message them. But that's it. Very, very rare that I will ever message anybody on social media, and I never message anyone on Discord. So if you join the Mastermind and you get on Discord and somebody that is impersonating me messages you, it is a scam. Block and report them immediately. I just have to state that because I know that it happens and I don't want people to lose their XRP. And also, I'm never going to ask you for your XRP. I can't operate over WhatsApp or Telegram or any of this other crazy stuff. It has to be over email, and Digital Wealth Partners and my whole team there will work with you. You're not even going to work with me at Digital Wealth Partners. I'm never going to ask you to send your XRP anywhere. We have this individual. This is the last super chat I'm going to take for tonight. They say, hey, Jake, I believe in the tech, so I'll be moving a substantial amount of my 401k into ETFs when live. Do you have a favorite? I could use DAG if my assets are held this way. You're not going to be using us if your assets are held that way, my man. We work with the bearer asset itself and not structured products today. We're working on being able to work with traditional stuff. But this person's from Finland. Very cool, man. Good to see you. Over time, we'll probably work with structured products. Actually, I'll talk about this for a second, and we'll wrap it up tonight. I'm becoming more and more cynical is not the right word. I'm starting to believe the structured product is really the whole intent behind everything for the institutions, because none of them are building what we have. None of them want to do segregated accounts and institutional custody and an SMA model and all the other stuff that we're working on for people that hold direct allocation to their crypto. When Tether blows up, which it's going to, I'm very confident these institutions are going to start just gobbling up these exchanges. And we already know the structured product game is really where it's at. DATs and these, GBTC trust type products and ETFs, it's much easier for them to funnel cash and list those on a stock exchange and get liquidity into them very quickly. And then just buy the underlying asset in an omnibus account, not have to worry about segmenting clients' accounts. And then financial advisors and everybody else can already participate. They don't have to build anything new. I think that was the game plan the whole time. I think we might end up being the only wealth manager out there that does this in a segregated account manner for people that hold the bearer asset. If it plays out the way that I think it's going to, I think that really might end up being the case, which would be wild. I would love to be in that position. But I think a lot of these other people are just planning on structured products, and that's the way that they're going to get an allocation to this asset class for their clients. So, you talked about, using your 401k or other qualified capital to invest in ETFs or other structured products for crypto. We'll get there, but our game is really the people that have the bearer asset. We want to work with people that want to own their crypto outright and hold their assets in a FBO account for them and their spouse and their family, and know that it's safe. And we'll continue to build ways that they can generate returns on that and not have to invest through structured products unless they want to. There might be some means, like DATs and other stuff where you get additional benefit if you put your assets in there. But for the most part, I think people want to hold their asset. They don't want to have to, give it up. So we'll continue to build out solutions for that. But yeah, if you got over $500,000 in your total portfolio value, even if it's not crypto, we should be able to work with you like this week, next week. And we actually have an accredited investor webinar. If you are accredited and you would like to learn more about the other opportunities that are in crypto, and some of the cool stuff that's coming with looping and liquid staking and a lot of the other stuff on DeFi that we're going to cover for institutional investors and accredited investors on that webinar, you can just register. People in the mastermind know where it's at, and it's also over there on Twitter for you guys. This person said, Jake, I did the same thing as the guy before and bought the corporate veil on top of my LLC formation. It's support at digitalfamilyoffice.io. Happy to get that returned for you, brother. Again, I apologize. If you did it and he did it, it's probably not clear that's included. And so I'll work with my team to get that updated, and I appreciate the feedback on that. And again, apologize for the confusion, and happy to refund that additional $1,000 at this time. I live in Panama. What will happen here in Panama? Panama is really interesting. Panama has some pretty cool stuff when it comes to the U.S. and the treaty that they have. You can structure stuff really well in Panama and it not be known to anybody here in the U.S., and you still get a lot of benefits. So we're looking at Panama to be able to structure things. But with that, I am going to go ahead and wrap it up. Hope you guys have a wonderful evening. We'll be back maybe Thursday. I'll let you guys know on Thursday if we're going to have the live or not. It just depends on some other stuff that I got going on in my personal life. But I want to be able to do 2 a week. So appreciate y'all. If you haven't yet, please join the mastermind. We'd love to see you in there. It's just beyondbroke.com. You can use the code beyondbroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar gets you the first month for $2 in social or Carbon One. Again, if you want the LLC, the code to set that up. And again, you don't need the extra $1,000 deal for the corporate veil. It's included. So end to end, everything you need, $2,000 if you use the code 50 off 50 OFF DAG LLC. That's 50 off DAG LLC at digitalfamilyoffice.io. And then last but not least, if you have the LLC and you have over 100,000 XRP or at least $500,000 in total portfolio value, you can work with Digital Wealth Partners. And the way to do that is to go to digitalwealthpartners.net and use the contact us form there. And our team would love to chat with you about ways to generate returns on your XRP or your other digital assets, lines of credit, advisory, and all the other fun stuff and products that we're producing. So with that, we'll wrap it up. I hope you have a wonderful night. We'll see you guys on the next one.